you all, and welcome to another episode of Wear Many Hats. My name's Rachel, and this is the podcast totally dedicated to the FM and workplace industry. Today, we have a little bit of a different episode. It is Neurodiversity Awareness Week, so we are doing a special today. And I am at the offices with Eloise Mabey. She is in TrueLayer and is the Workplace Experience Manager. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here, and thanks for highlighting this very important issue.
Yeah, topic.
Yeah, which is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be a really interesting episode because I was recently diagnosed with ADHD and you with autism and ADHD. So this is going to be a very interesting episode.
Could be a long one.
Might have to do it in part 1 and part 2. But yeah, we've got a lot of questions to go through, which is obviously based around your career in workplace and obviously having your recent diagnosis and, you know, how you kind of deal with it in the workplace. So yeah, let's get started because we've got a lot to get through. But so let's start with your career journey, first of all. I mean, how did you find your way into the work you do now?
Yeah, so my career has kind of naturally evolved into workplace and employee experience roles, but it definitely wasn't something I set out to do from the beginning and after finishing university. So I started out in an office and ops role, and then over time just really realised I enjoyed the not only part of keeping things running, but creating environments where people actually enjoyed coming into work.
Yeah.
And that experience side of things. So that then pulled me more into the culture, events and workplace experience side of things.
Yeah.
I worked in a few companies across London, mix of office management, culture and collaboration. My first role was purely sort of office based, so office culture events at a startup.
Okay.
And then at my next company, my next role was the happiness and collaboration manager.
I love that title. I saw it on your LinkedIn and I've never seen that one.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, what a great title. What did you do?
Yeah, so I mean, that role kind of sums up where my career was heading. And what I do now, so workplace experience. So basically just looking after everyone, making sure they have the best experience possible in the workplace, and making sure they can do their best work. Yeah. Great experiences like across the teams and office and like continuity across offices as well. Yeah. Loved it. And looking back, I think I've always gravitated towards those fast-paced environments where there are lots of moving parts, juggling projects, and just bringing people together. Yeah. And didn't realise it at the time, but those are definitely in the environments that suit the way my brain works, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And looking back, did you always feel you thought or worked differently from others?
Yeah, I think looking back, I definitely think I experienced things a little differently. But at the time, I didn't really have the language to explain it. Yeah. So I always had a lot of energy, a lot of ideas, and I found it very easy to move quickly between different tasks and projects. But there were also things that felt a bit harder, like sitting still for long periods. Yeah. Dealing with constant interruptions, or also environments that felt slow and repetitive. So like certain roles. And I didn't necessarily think of it as being different at the time. It was just how my brain worked and my ways of working.
Yeah. I totally relate to that. It's good to. I like fast-paced, fast-moving. That's kind of the career that I've always done. So, yeah. You know, nothing's the same, really, which is right in workplace, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Every day is different, isn't
Every day is completely
wearing many hats.
Yeah.
So before your diagnosis, how did you make sense of the way your brain worked?
So to be honest, I didn't really have a framework for it. I just assumed certain things were personality traits, or how I was brought up, or maybe things that I just needed to improve on. So if I struggled with something like staying focused in certain environments or feeling restless in meetings, I just thought it was something I should get better at managing and a development point.
Same, yes.
Yeah.
I used to switch off in meetings and thought that there was, something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Why can't I concentrate?
Yeah.
And I was also told that at school, like, you're disruptive, you're chatty,
class clown.
can't concentrate, class clown. Yes. And back then we had board rubbers thrown at us and things like that. But I'm showing my age. There's none of that now. But yeah, like we were just a bit naughty.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was like. But so regarding your diagnosis and sort of understanding yourself, you received your ADHD and autism diagnosis last year.
Yeah.
What led you to seek that clarity?
Yeah, so the thing that initially triggered it was actually feedback I received from a manager in a previous role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was about 4 years ago, and it was coming up to probation time, and she mentioned that in meetings I seemed quite fidgety, distracted, and that I sometimes, I think it was quite often, jumped into conversations before others had started speaking or finished speaking. So my probation was actually extended, which at the time was quite devastating because I have such high standards and I thought I was doing a really good job. So that was very difficult. And the most difficult thing was that's how it didn't reflect how I was feeling. So I, as I said, like thought I was doing a really good job. And I was actually really interested in what was being discussed, but clearly that wasn't how I was being portrayed. And yeah, it left me confused for a long time about why I was being perceived and what I might be doing wrong. So luckily at that company, we had mental health first aiders and neurodiversity first aiders.
Brilliant.
So I got chatting to them, and one particularly great colleague had her autism and ADHD diagnosis.
Okay.
So this started to get the cogs whirring.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a couple of years, after moving into a more corporate role, things started to really click for me and become clear. The pace of environment felt really slow to me, and I realised I felt completely understimulated and actually quite bored. Yes. Despite doing quite a lot still. So that was when I started questioning whether there might actually be something else going on with how my brain worked. I had a lot of conversations with friends, family, and they all said they agreed that I was a bit different. And I had a lot of heart-to-hearts with my mum and dad. And mum told me she had then considered getting me tested for autism as a child.
Wow.
But at the time, growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, like there was quite a stigma around that.
Yeah.
So I didn't want that label. She didn't want that label, and she didn't want that to follow me growing up. So yeah, it's taken quite a long time to get diagnosed. Yeah. And I actually only officially got that diagnosis, as you say, last year after sort of like 4 years of thinking about it and then realising.
That's it. I mean, you're a lot younger than me, but I was like 48 when I got a diagnosis.
It's never too late.
I know, but I just feel better for knowing now. And obviously we're going to talk about, how getting the diagnosis changed things for you. Yeah. So, how did getting the diagnosis change it? So personally and professionally, how did it impact you knowing, that you have what you have?
Yeah. So I think the biggest change for me was just understanding myself better and feeling that acceptance around why I've always behaved or worked how I do. So a lot of things that had previously felt confusing started to really make sense to me. So that's both the strengths and the challenges and weaknesses that it does propose. So it helps me realise that that certain environments simply suit the way my brain works better than others. So that fast-paced environment. And professionally, it's also helped me start thinking about more intentionally about how I work best. So I'm still very much learning and figuring that out day to day.
Yeah, I think for me, personally, I was different in work than I was outside of work. We spoke about masking before we went on the show. That is exhausting. And, ADHD, generally they say, you have to be hyperactive, which I am quite a bit. But then there's moments when I'm absolutely crash, when I'm exhausted from masking, from my hyper episodes. It's tiring. So for me, a diagnosis meant, okay, now I understand. I can be a bit kinder to myself because I can't actually help it. It's just how my brain is wired. And you said the word acceptance, and that's a huge part. Once you have the diagnosis, it's like, okay, I am and I have. So what do we need to do?
Yeah.
And this will lead us on to the next questions around work. But yeah, for me, and sounds like for you, it's just better knowing.
Understanding yourself.
Absolutely.
And it's so important.
And that sort of stigma that was around it is now, and thanks to, neurodiversity awareness weeks and things like that there is more around it. Mm-hmm. It is spoken about. It's not so taboo and, which is great. So, were there moments where things suddenly made sense in hindsight to you?
Definitely. So I've had quite a few of those moments since being diagnosed. So one of the ones which we've already touched upon was looking back at that role a few years ago where my probation was extended. Yeah. And now fully understanding why that was. Yeah. Understanding myself. But I think the biggest realization is more general, and it's been the understanding the difference between how people perceive me and how I actually feel internally. Yeah. So an example being, a lot of people assume I'm very extroverted because of the role I do. But in reality, I am pretty introverted unless I'm very comfortable with the people around me.
You can relax a bit more. Yeah. I agree.
But in my role, there's a lot of events and hosting. So those events can be very draining for me. And I often find myself saying busy or standing on the edges of a room just so I'm not like having to socialize and force like conversations.
Oh, yeah. I'm sitting here thinking of my own work and it's a bit uncomfortable at times. I have to push myself to put myself in uncomfortable situations, and it is draining. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the small talk as well. Like, I love it and I love talking to people, but it can just get very draining for me. So I do just like to be running around, just doing the organising instead.
The busy. Yeah. I get it. So you've spoken about ADHD and autism being a real advantage for you. Where do you see that most clearly at work?
So I definitely see it in the fast-moving, fast-paced environment. So I've always felt my brain wants to go a million miles an hour 24/7. And I'm very comfortable juggling lots of things and moving quickly between projects. When things are busy or slightly chaotic, that's actually when I tend to feel the most relaxed. Yeah. And focused.
Right. Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Because most people would be like, no, this is too much. We're like,
I need to be
comfortable.
Yeah, all systems go to feel my best, which is, sounds contradictory.
Yeah, no, see, like even now, I'm what I call hyper-focused because I'm concentrating on what I've got to do to get through the next podcast interview, make sure I cover everything. So I'm so focused. Nothing around me will distract me at this moment in time. But I will be tired.
Yes. No, definitely. I think, I don't know if you also find this, but another big strength of how I feel is the attention to detail. Yeah. So when you're managing those moving parts, like being able to spot potential issues and also the creativity that neurodivergent people can bring, we all look at things differently. And I think particularly for like someone who's autistic and has ADHD, looking at problems from slightly different angles, I think is just a huge strength.
Yeah. So your attention to detail is pretty spot on. Mine can be a little...
That's probably the autism side.
I don't have that one. I'm always like, I need that one. Because I can miss things. Yeah. So if we're looking at proposals or documents like that, I'll miss layout and things, but I'll see every single word. Maybe
that's interesting. So having both ADHD and autism, I often feel pulled in different directions. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, the autistic side craves the routine and structure and that laser focused attention to detail, while the ADHD side then pulls me in another direction where I'm struggling to stick to the routine that I've set. So there's constant negotiation going on in my head.
Battle. Yeah. So you'll probably get even more exhausted than I do.
Yeah.
I just don't see it sometimes. I just don't see that detail. This is why we have to pull on our strengths, I guess. So,
yeah, totally.
This is a question that I thought was great. But why do fast-paced environments often suit neurodivergent people so well?
Yeah, so I think the fast-paced environment tends to provide that stimulation and variety.
Yeah.
So for many neurodivergent people, like including myself, our brains thrive when there's movement, problem solving, variety rather than mundane repetition.
Yeah.
So when things are slow or very structured, that's, as I said, was when my brain struggles the most. But when there are multiple challenges, things happening at once, multiple things being thrown my way, that's when I feel most engaged. So that constant stimulation is just key for us.
And that will happen in the workplace. This is why FM workplace will be good for anyone,
definitely
with ADHD or autism. Or, very interesting.
Yeah.
My niece has been diagnosed. I might push her in that. I need an assistant.
Send her my way.
Yeah, I will do. So that's very interesting, isn't it? And, my background was recruitment, and I had temps working for me, changes, a constant change, constant challenges, new jobs coming in, new jobs to fill. It's very fast paced.
Yeah, constantly something going on. And no day is the same as well.
Correct.
Especially in like a fintech like I'm working in. Every day there's a different challenge. There's something else to solve. It's reactive.
Yeah.
You're just never going to have those moments of quiet where I would typically be bored and just lose focus.
Absolutely. There's always something going on, isn't there, in your industry and in what you do in day-to-day workings. And there's always something, like you say, either reactive or something else you can go and proactively do.
Yeah.
If you get a quiet moment, like you say.
Right.
So what strengths do you think neurodivergent people bring that are often underestimated?
I think, as I've touched upon before, that different angle. So the creativity, the problem solving, the ability to see patterns or connections that mothers might miss. And particularly with both sides of like ADHD and autism, there's so much there. And neurodivergent people can be incredibly good in high pressure situations because of being able to process so much information at once. But different sides to both of them, to be honest. And you've just got to find what your strengths are. And as I said, I'm still learning those. One day, like I might find something really easy. The other day, I might not. It's just, And TrueLayer, they are aware of your diagnosis and I guess support you in this. Yes, fully. And it's something that I really want to bring to the company as well and raise awareness of.
Good. Got to get this podcast out there. Yeah, definitely. I think it's it can only benefit.
Yeah.
So do you think workplaces focus too much on supporting challenges rather than enabling the strengths, like what we just spoke about?
I think sometimes this can be the case. A lot of conversations around neurodiversity focus on people's struggle with rather than the unique strengths they bring.
Yeah, I agree.
In reality, when people are placed in an environment that suits them and given the flexibility, those differences can actually become huge advantages if managed and supported well.
Yeah, like my ability to talk. People just put me in front of anything. Go on, Rachel, you speak. Because I'm like, okay, I don't mind. I'll chat too much. And I think, get to know people and, there's certain meetings I'll talk first. I'm actually really quite comfortable with that. I don't know if that's come over time and since knowing the diagnosis as well.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps, like that understanding of yourself better.
Oh, 100%.
And confirming those are your strengths.
Yeah, and things that you can kind of work on and that you're aware of.
Yeah, things you might not be so good at, etc.
Interrupting is my worst.
Yeah, we're doing well now.
We are. I'm really shocked.
Got structure.
We have structure in front of us. So we're moving on to sort of reality of work now.
Yeah.
what parts of traditional workplace culture feel limiting or outdated for neurodivergent people? I mean, is it recognised? You know, are companies doing more? You know, what's your thoughts on that, Eloise?
Yeah, so I think traditional workplaces, that's quite broad, but they often assume people work in the same way.
Yeah.
The same hours, the same communication styles, the same environments. But in reality, people do their best work in very different ways. Yeah. So for me, things like constant interruptions and having no flexibility and working from home, rigid schedules, I think are really difficult.
Yes.
And also measuring productivity by visibility rather than the outcomes. I think it just makes work harder than it needs to be, especially for those like myself who need quiet time, time away from others to do their best work. And for those who may need that, like little extra understanding and support to thrive.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very fortunate enough to visit offices like I'm here today in True's beautiful building, by the way. You know, and I've been very fortunate to go into companies where they've actually built space incorporated it in for neurodivergent, because it needs to be quiet for them to focus. So I think that's wonderful that companies are doing that. And more, there needs to be more.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I'm looking at here, actually, and how we support people better.
So are there sort of small practical changes that have made a big difference for you in the workplace?
Yeah, so for me, I think having the ability to control my environment and minimise those distractions, working from home, etc., it really allows me to go into deep focus without those interruptions and noise. So the balance of hybrid working, I think, is hugely important, and everyone should have the option.
Yeah.
And even smaller things like being able to structure my time slightly differently can have a huge impact on productivity.
Yes.
And I'm really trying to practice what I preach at the moment. Of
course. You've got a team here, though, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you can sort of step away and take turns, I guess, being in the office. Because one of the big things about workplaces is you actually have to be in the office. So is that something you're able to do, having a team?
Yes, yeah. Luckily, we have got a workplace team, so it's super flexible, especially in my role.
That's so good.
And yeah, we have a hybrid working policy across the team.
Brilliant. So you just work with each other to see.
Yeah.
When you're in, when they're not, you know. So it works.
Yeah. Always having coverage. And making sure everyone feels like they are doing their best work.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good way of doing things. And this is what we talk about. So how important are flexibility, autonomy and trust?
Hugely important.
Yes, definitely.
If there's no trust, like how are you meant to work?
Yeah.
You feel micromanaged, you feel like that's like what you're being measured on. When people are trusted to work in the way that suits them best, you'll always see better results.
I agree.
And that flexibility allows people to structure their own work. They're trusted to do their own work around how their brains function best, rather than forcing everyone into the same model with the same treatment.
Everybody's different. And, you know, I've been thinking of just as we're talking now about previous roles where I have been micromanaged and I feel so uncomfortable. I don't work well.
No, neither. It cuts your creativity completely. You feel like you're trapped. Especially for me, like you feel you're trapped in something you can't get out of. You can't perform. You can't really do your role.
So previous to COVID, for instance, because obviously post-COVID, everybody was sort of working. Were you working in the office straight, you know, Monday to Friday before that?
So straight out of university, it was around COVID times.
Okay.
So I was working pretty much on my own in the office.
Yes.
As I was like helping assist the legal teams in my job. I was just kind of in the office with the CEO. It was just us like bouncing around this huge office.
So that wasn't too bad for you.
No, I actually quite enjoyed it. There was no mess. There was no fridges to stock. There was a lot of flexibility. And I could just be on my own. Okay. Blast the music out and have no distractions.
Just get the job done. Probably work better.
Yeah.
But less, like you say, less distractions.
Yeah.
So what do you wish more employers understood? I mean, we've just touched on a couple of things. You know, what's your advice around that?
Yeah, so I'd love more employers to understand that people don't all perform at their best in the same environment or structure. So I think awareness is the first step, but real inclusion happens when organizations actually design workplaces that work for those different type of brains.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be very small adjustments and flexibility that can unlock a huge amount of potential. So things like the hybrid working, understanding how people's brain function and whether that's quieter spaces that they need, flexibility around where they work, or clearer communication can just make such a big difference. And I think the raising awareness piece as well. So
definitely
regular conversations about neurodiversity and ways of working are important. So for my example, case in point, without the conversations I had around neurodiversity with those first aiders a few years ago, I'd probably still be undiagnosed.
And that is a concern, because if people don't know or they think they may be, it's probably best to go and get assessed. I know that the NHS, for instance, is overwhelmed at the moment with people going to find out whether they do or they don't. And, but I'd still say go. It took 2 years for my diagnosis. So, and I think, do you know what? I had an idea just because people kept telling me, but I just felt very uncomfortable in my own skin at times. So, like now I know I can work better with it.
No, definitely. Having those conversations and that awareness in the first place gave me the confidence to have explore it further and understand myself better ultimately.
Otherwise, what are you working with?
Yeah, exactly. And I think as you said, the NHS waitlist, that really put me off. And I didn't know about the right to choose pathway, which I eventually went down.
What is this?
So
I don't know this. I just went NHS. But what is right to choose?
So you have the right to choose whether you have they go down like a private pathway.
Okay.
But it's funded by the NHS.
Interesting.
Yes. So it was slightly shorter wait time than the typical NHS route.
Yes. I think I might have heard about this. Okay. So is that still going? So
I believe so. I think it is also becoming quite overwhelmed, but you just need to take that first step and get on the list, because otherwise you're going to be waiting even more time.
So I think if you do believe that you may have something, or you may tick differently to your peers, colleagues, friends, I personally think it's the best thing that I did for myself was, okay, look, just go and get it confirmed. And I am actually relieved that I've done that, like you said,
definitely.
And then having acceptance and, more knowledge around what I have. You can bring out the best bits,
Exactly.
Work on the challenges,
Take that first step.
Absolutely. And then employers can then help people if they are.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
So, with this episode, we're going live during Neurodiversity Awareness Week. Where do you think organisations are making progress?
So I think in general, organisations' awareness has definitely improved, which is a really positive step, but there's still a long way to go. I think we all need to talk about neurodiversity more openly and regularly to reduce that stigma. That still does exist.
It does.
And as we just said, encourage people to seek support or diagnosis. But I think progress often comes from creating spaces for those conversations. So I feel very comfortable creating those spaces in my company, for example. So things like internal panels, support for managers, initiatives such as mental health or neurodiversity first aiders.
That's so good.
They'll accept that. We will run with that. I have such an amazing team behind me and company. But just in other workplaces, it just needs to
be
improve.
Aware. And start working towards helping. The stigma is still there. 100%.
Exactly.
I think it's you have ADHD, everyone's got it. No, they don't. Not everybody does have it.
No, it's so common, isn't it?
And I know that because I know how different I am to some of my colleagues, for instance. My concentration span is shocking. And age doesn't help. But it's got worse for me. Which is a shame, because I used to be so switched on. And I'm not now. And like you say, acceptance. And then I have to work with what I've got.
Yeah, and I having those people around you who understand it. And I think the mental health first aiders and neurodiversity health first aiders are just hugely important, because it's just that first step. You can talk to someone internally.
Yeah. Especially if you're struggling as well.
Yeah.
And we do.
Yeah, exactly.
And who do I speak to? Really.
You don't even have to talk about like neurodiversity. You can just talk about anything.
Yeah.
Like, just that first conversation, like I'm actually struggling, and having that initial chat.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully this will help employers to come to change things,
Yeah.
So let's talk about, your reflection and advice that you may have. What are you most proud of in how you have navigated your career?
I think never giving up, and constantly working away and to the best of my ability. I'm super proud of building a career in environments that genuinely excite me and energize me. And to where I am now, finding like the company that really suits me.
Yeah. It's important, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's not just about any job. I think you do need to look if you have ADHD or autism or I think it is very important to look for a company that have those things in place, such as support, and being able to support, recognize what we have and work with it. I think it's important. It's not just about take any job.
I think you can really lose ambition and sort of motivation if you're in the wrong workplace.
I think so.
If it's not suited to you, you're not going to want to be there. You're not going to want to do the work.
And this is the job hopping will come, which does come quite often, doesn't it? With ADHD, I know for sure, is that if we're not comfortable, we tend to jump quicker than maybe we should have, instead of sometimes sitting with it and working through stuff. There's a lot of work to be done, isn't there? But well done on getting to where you are. And the great thing is now, Eloise, the career that you have, you actually can put those changes in. Yeah,
exactly. I'm in such a privileged position where I can actually help others like I was helped. I'm very excited to sort of introduce those neurodiversity like first aiders. And the things that helped me initially.
I think it's genius. And I'm sure that other podcastees that have been on might be contacting you about this, because they're
very welcome to.
Exactly, they all listen. They're like, "Ooh, something we need to put in place." Some companies are working towards stuff like you say, the wellness rooms, quiet rooms, and stuff. But there's a long way to go.
They're just small touches that make such a difference.
It isn't a lot that we ask for. Really.
Huge impact.
But the impact is huge. And what would you say to someone who has been diagnosed more recently and is figuring out what that means for work? What would you say?
I'm as I said, like I'm constantly learning. I'd say a diagnosis doesn't change you; it just gives you a better understanding of how your brain works. And that understanding, especially for me, can be incredibly empowering because it allows you to start designing your life and work in ways that actually support and work for you.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's very important. A lot of thought goes into that, really, doesn't it?
As I said, take that first step.
Start
having those conversations.
And what advice would you give to leaders who want to build more inclusive environments but are unsure where to start, other than to speak to you, of course? But is there anything that you would recommend companies to do?
I think being open at the beginning, start recognizing that people work differently. You can't all put them into one mold. Ask people what helps them perform at their best rather than just assuming there's that one correct way to work. So what works for you might not work for everyone. In fact, I can say it doesn't.
Correct.
And often the changes that help neurodivergent employees are those things like flexibility, clear communication, and that also just benefits everyone. You don't have to be neurodivergent to appreciate that flexibility.
That's so good. Good bit of advice there. So if listeners want to take one thing away from this episode during Neurodiversity Awareness Week, what would you like that to be?
I think neurodiversity isn't something that needs fixing. It's simply a different way of thinking. And when people are placed in environments that suit them, those differences become real strength.
Yeah, I think so. And like we do think outside the box, I think, It's almost like a superpower.
It is. That's bounced around a lot with neurodiversity.
It is. I quite like that. And I think I must have heard that somewhere, because obviously now it's stuck in my brain. But yeah, we do think a bit differently. And our style of working is, I mean, there's things that we can do that others can't.
Yeah.
Or may not feel comfortable. So like you say, it's like getting to recognise your employers and, and understanding, what suits them.
Yeah.
What will make you perform better, or, in a way that works for you and that you're comfortable with,
Yeah. Neurodiversity, it's so many different aspects and so many different points of view, different ways of thinking. You want that at a company. You want those different perspectives.
Yeah,
it adds something different to the melting pot.
Yeah.
And I think that's just fantastic. It's just, how do we support those people and bring it out of them?
Yeah. It's a lot of food for thought.
Exactly.
So let's switch off from work. How do you switch off from work? What do you do? What do you? I mean, I just pretty much collapse at the end of the week. I'm like, whoa. Friday evenings here, I'm just going to do nothing. But yeah, what do you like to do?
Yeah, so I'm still figuring that out, to be honest. So switching off for me is something I find very difficult, and I'm definitely guilty of turning on Slack and my phone when I get home, looking at messages.
Doom scrolling.
Yes, exactly. Doom scrolling. But I do tend to switch off best when I'm doing something that involves a bit of movement or distraction.
Yeah.
So that could be something small like watching TV while playing with a fidget toy, or just having something to do. Yes, they are great, the fidget rings.
Necklace and a ring.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. I get it.
Or going somewhere new, so my brain has to think about something else and focus on something else. My brain doesn't really do the quiet stillness very well, so switching off is usually more about changing environment or activity rather than doing nothing.
Finding something new.
Yes.
New experience.
Yes. But yeah, I am, if I'm being honest, the quiet downtime is usually doom scrolling on my phone, as you say, which I'm sure
Netflix.
a lot of people can.
Binge watching.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yes.
I think that I'm not alone. But yeah, I think exercise is good.
Yes, definitely.
Walking helps. I got into spin quite heavily a couple of years ago. That was so good for me.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people were saying, I don't think you should do that as much as you do. It's and I'm like, I love it.
Yes, I did. I had a Peloton addiction ADHD phase.
Oh, okay.
It's now over.
I've never heard that. Yeah, it's over for me at the moment. Only because I've moved and they don't do it near me.
Yeah, constant hyperfixations and moving from one thing to the next.
That is one thing. I mean, obviously, like, we've kind of wrapped up a little bit on the on workplace, but for me, I find that I heavily get involved in something or want to start something up, or small businesses were always a thing.
Gosh, yes,
done a few candle making.
I've been through that phase.
Reorganising, decluttering.
Yeah.
I'm actually very good at, but not for myself.
Agree.
Like all these things, or I want to change jobs, or I want to do. It's quite exhausting.
It is. You should see my notes on my phone. It's like, oh, this business idea, and it's all like midnight thoughts that I've dashed down in the middle of the night.
Maybe we should write a book. But yeah, I don't think I can't finish books.
No, neither. I can't. I can read, obviously, but I can't read because I just get distracted.
My partner actually writes books, and I'm only halfway through the first one. He's written 6. So how bad is that? And it's that's I feel terrible for that, but I just can't concentrate on the same page over and over again, and then
it doesn't sink in at all. Yeah.
And then there's moments where I can.
Oh no, completely agree. Yeah, put it in a podcast or make it into a film.
That's it. I listen to those. It has been absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad that we didn't interrupt each other too many times. It's been very well behaved.
Structure is key.
Structure is key. Another bit of advice there. But, in seriousness, if somebody wanted to do what you do, how would you kind of recommend that they get involved in the workplace? Is there any particular way that you would recommend someone to come in to this role?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're young, out of school, apprenticeships are amazing. Yeah. We've just hired our first apprentice here, which is already hugely successful.
Brilliant.
And,
the workplace.
Yeah. Into my team.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how would someone look for that? Is it the government website?
Yeah, government websites. I think there's a few apprenticeship websites as well, and apprenticeship providers that advertise roles. So yeah, straight out of school, take any opportunity you get.
Yeah.
Retail experience is great.
Yes.
Working in restaurants, etc. Anything customer service related, amazing.
Yeah.
And then if you feel like you like that, you feel like the event side, the office management,
Yes, office management,
the admin. There's so many elements to it, but if you like some of them, just throw yourself into all the opportunities.
Yeah.
And when you're in a workplace, just do everything. Say yes.
Yeah.
And you'll just fly.
Love that. Thank you so much, Eloise.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And a special edition for Neurodiversity Awareness Week. I appreciate your time, and I can't wait to look around the offices and see what you've done here at TrueLayer. This building is magnificent. It's the Gibson, isn't it?
The Gilbert.
The Gilbert.
So
sorry. The Gilbert. I did give G. Had an I in it. Gilbert. Oh, yeah, lovely. So I look forward to that. And until next time, some people might want to come to you and get some advice from you on LinkedIn. Lovely. Thank you so much. And that's at the end of today's episode of Wear Many Hats, a special this week. So, yeah, if you relate to anything on here or you would like some advice, please do get in touch with Eloise with regards to the workplace. And feel free to speak to me too. Until next time, take care.